Roots. Today I want to show you how to make fermented pickles. That's right, fermented pickles. It's not gross. It's really good. Lacto-fermentation is an ancient way of pickling, and it is so good for you because it's full of probiotics and it's super easy. It's actually kind of easier than pickling with canning. All right, we are gonna get started here with some fresh organic ingredients, mostly from our garden or gardens of our friends. We have the dill from our garden, the garlic from our friend, the cucumbers from our friend, and the organic Vidalia onions are local to Georgia. So the nice part about the lacto-fermented recipe is the only thing that you have to get right is the brine. So each quart of fresh non-chlorinated water requires 2 to 3 tablespoons of salt. And you mix that in a jar first and have that ready to pour over your pickles. So for the pickle part, you can use cucumbers, or you can use carrots, or you can use zucchini. Really, the possibilities are endless as to what kind of vegetables you want to ferment and make into pickles. We are doing some cucumbers today and possibly some zucchini if we have room. I like to put a little bit of onion, lots of garlic, dill, and then I usually use like a pickling spice of some sort. I found one that was a pre-packaged dill pickle, so it has some dill in it too. But I thought I had just regular pickling spice, but I don't. So I'm gonna go ahead and use that. And you can use whatever you want. So if you wanna add peppercorns or red pepper flakes, mustard seed, anything that you really like in your pickle recipe, go ahead and add that. And something that I always do that my mama taught me is to make sure that you have crisp pickles, always add a tannin producing leaf. So that would be a grape leaf, an oak leaf, or a horseradish leaf. All of those leaves produce tannins. And if you have a tea tree, like not tea tree oil, but like tea, like for sipping on a hot cup of tea, if you have that, that produces tannin as well. Some people have even said that they've put in a Lipton tea bag and that produces tannin to make it crisp. So that helps keep your pickles crisp no matter what you're pickling. On cucumbers, one of the tips that all the old timers give is to always remove the blossom end. I cut off the ends anyway as I'm cutting up my cucumber. So I put my spices into the jar. I put all of my vegetable, whether it's cucumbers or something different, into the jar. I pack it in nice and tight, and then I pour the brine over it. It's that simple. Alright, so I've got my spices at the bottom of the jar. I have my pickles, or cucumbers, or whatever vegetable you want. And then I have covered it with a grape leaf. We have lots of muscadine vines around here, so it's very easy and convenient for me to grab a couple of those to use as my tannin. And now I'm going to add, I have 4 cups of water, and I'm gonna add 3 tablespoons of salt to that. I usually use sea salt, but out of that, so I'm gonna use some kosher salt, and that's fine. So I'm just gonna make sure everything is completely submerged. You do not want any of your vegetables that you're fermenting to be above the brine line, or they will get yucky. So I'm using my muscadine leaf to help hold the pickles down so that they don't float out of the brine. I will be checking this every day, probably several times a day, because I get excited when I first start fermenting in the season. And I will make sure that it stays submerged, and I will burp these jars as well. By burp, that means I'm going to release the air that has built up inside of them from the fermentation process. Bubbles will start to happen, and I'll have to take my lid and unscrew it and let the air come out, but I do it real slow or it'll spill over the edge. And it is also important to keep your jars on something that they can spill on. So sometimes I keep them on a plate, sometimes I just leave them on the cutting board if I won't be using it. And just keep an eye and burp them. Sometimes you have to burp them a couple of times a day depending on the temperature of your house. We keep our house pretty warm. I don't turn on the air conditioning until just before Ryan comes home from work, and cool it off for him usually, or if we have company, then I turn it on. But if your house is really hot, then it's going to ferment fast. If your house is kept pretty cold, it's going to ferment slow. So I actually added some zucchini or summer squash to this one because I ran out of space and I needed to fill it up with some more. And I did circles on this and spears on those. And if you have airlocks, those are fun because I don't have to burp it. So the bubbles will come out as it releases gas. It'll come out safely. And these I'll have to open every day and burp them. But that is gonna be some yummy pickles right there. So you should check your pickles and see how they're doing every day. But usually it's gonna be 3 days at the most, depending on the vegetable. Some get done quicker, and if your house is hot, that is the quickest I've had anything done. But it's usually going to take a week, and it's possible that it could take as long as 4 weeks. So you'll want to taste that brine. Something I do is a clean pinky taste. Tasting salty still. I don't taste a real sourness yet. So once it starts to taste sour, then you can start sampling the vegetables and see if they've got a nice sour pickle taste to them. So what happens during the fermentation process is lactic acid is created. And so you actually create your own vinegar. And your pickles are going to taste like pickles. Like they have vinegar in them. And it's going to be amazing. And it's going to blow your mind if you've never done it before. I promise. I've had lots of friends that I've guided through this process, and they're always amazed at how good the pickles taste when they're done, and that they added no vinegar. So I hope you get a chance to try this with any of your favorite vegetables, and I hope that you enjoy it and get to fall in love with probiotic pickles, because they are not only delicious, they're really good for you. So please like, share, comment down below if you have any questions, and subscribe to our channel. And we'll see you next time on Wholesome Roots.